Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. On today's video, I'm going to be talking to you about the things that I wish I knew before I even started my IVF journey. Welcome, and I hope that you find this video useful. If that's something that you consider interesting, I am making videos on IVF and on pregnancy. Also, I am doing some videos on living with hydrocephalus. Without any further ado, let's jump into today's video, which is about what you absolutely need to know before you step into the IVF process. So first things first, what is IVF? Chances are, if you're watching this video and if you're on my channel right now, that you very well know what IVF is, and that you're either considering it or you have already started an IVF process. But let's explain what IVF is, and we can break it down into steps so that we can see the main steps and questions that come up from them. So basically, IVF means in vitro fertilization, or the process of fertilizing egg cells outside the woman's body into a lab with sperm cells from her partner or a donor, and then transferring the fertilized eggs or embryos back into the woman's body. And this process can be broken down into 5 major steps. So first step would be the stimulation. The stimulation will include the hormonal stimulation of the ovaries of a woman to produce more eggs than she would normally do during one ovulation. Because during one ovulation cycle, a woman usually produces 1 to 2 eggs, sometimes more, but usually 1 to 2 eggs. And for IVF to have higher chances of success, more than that will be required. So the first step is the hormonal stimulation of the ovaries to produce more eggs. Then the second step would be the actual harvesting of these eggs, or the egg retrieval, the procedure where under general anesthetic, your doctor will go and take the mature eggs that have already matured in your ovaries and get them ready for fertilization. The third step would be the actual fertilization, which is done in a lab under the supervision of an embryologist. And basically what that is the doctors take the egg cells that have been retrieved from a woman and the sperm cells that have been collected from her partner or a donor, and let them fertilize in a lab, and then watch them grow and turn into embryos and blastocysts. And then once that they have matured enough, the process can move on to the fourth step, which is embryo transfer. And this is when the embryos that have been created in the lab are being transferred back into a woman's body, into her uterus. And then the final 5th stage of the process, which is the implantation of the transferred embryo into the woman's uterus, takes place. So with regards to that process, there are some considerations that I really think are useful. So the first and foremost consideration for myself would be commitment. Commitment to the process and commitment to the whole journey, because it requires a lot of commitment and a lot of good time management skills from both you and your partner. It would require for you to go into the clinic once every other day or once every 2 days in the first stage of the process, so during the stimulation, so that your doctor can make sure that your ovaries are maturing enough eggs and that they're proceeding fine and that they're growing okay. And one such visit to the clinic may take not more than 20 minutes, but compound that some commuting time, and you might need to spare 1 to 3 hours for your clinic visits. And basically you will need to make sure that your employer is aware about that, and that you can make this time, you know, away from work, away from caring for your other children, if that's something that you are doing as well. So yeah, this commitment is something that will be needed from you and from your partner as well, if you're doing this with a partner. Also, during the day of the egg retrieval procedure is done via a general anesthetic, so you need to take the whole day off in order for you to rest and to be able to recover after the general anesthesia. So you need to make sure that you can take that day off of work or off of your engagements as well. And then once that your embryo transfer is complete, the IVF clinics may have different recommendations on what you can or cannot do after the transfer. So some of the clinics may recommend you for you to rest just for 1 day, the day of the embryo transfer. Some clinics may recommend for you to be on modified bed rest for 2-3 days after the transfer. And then some clinics go as far as recommending for women to be on modified bed rest for up to 2 weeks after an embryo transfer. So you need to consider that as well. You need to know what kind of process you're going to be going through, and usually that's something that your clinic will tell you. Then consideration number 2 will be the discomfort. As mentioned, you'll be going through a lot of procedures. You'll be going through a lot of venipunctures due to blood draws, because your doctor will need to monitor your hormone levels in order to know when will be the best time for your egg retrieval or for your embryo transfer. So you will be getting quite a lot of blood work. Then the egg retrieval procedure itself involves general anesthesia and the discomfort that comes from that. Also, you know, the IV site that through which you will be receiving your liquids and your anesthetic as well. And also during the stimulation phase, you will be injecting yourself with hormones in your tummy and in your bum, most probably 1 to 3 times a day. So there are a lot of needles involved in the process. Sometimes it can be very painful, and your doctor in your clinic should also make sure that you're aware and that you completely understand what procedures you're going to be through and what types of risks are involved. Some of the risks involved are, you know, bruising in the site of injection, so in the site where you're putting your hormonal injections, or, you know, on your veins where you're getting your blood draws and IV into. Also, you can be dizzy after your anesthesia, and from the hormones you can be getting different reactions, from mood swings to hot flushes, cold waves, and all of that. But these risks you can definitely discuss with your doctor, and your clinic should let you know what you can expect out of those. If you have any worries or you have any questions, definitely make sure they're answered even before you step into the process, so that you're as well informed as possible. I have to let you know that not everything is going to go as planned. So sometimes you might feel something that you were not prepared you'll be feeling. Sometimes you can get some reaction that you're not expecting. But being prepared in advance as much as possible and being as informed as possible in advance is one of the best ways for you to stay on top of that discomfort and not let it be a hinder to your IVF journey. Then consideration number 3 would be finances, and the IVF process can be very, very expensive. It is usually not covered by any type of insurance, but I would definitely recommend that you check with your insurance company whether or not it covers some of the assessments, because you need to be going through a lot of assessments like hormonal assessments, virology as well, and you may have that blood work included in your insurance coverage. So we can take that from there. But just the general IVF process, the stimulation, fertilization, transfer, all of that, that's usually not covered by insurance. And the hormonal medication which is required for IVF is also not covered. So basically, I did my research for costs for 2022, and for US IVF can cost anywhere from $10,000 to $30,000 depending on where you are and what type of procedures you need to get done. In the European Union, the costs vary between 3,000 to 12,000 euros, and those costs usually include the monitoring of the stimulation, the egg retrieval procedure, the fertilization in the lab, the embryo transfer, and then the monitoring of the embryo transfer as well. And usually they also include the first blood pregnancy test that you'll be doing, which is usually done anywhere between 8 to 19 days post embryo transfer, and this is something that's usually included in that cost, in these costs as well. What is not included in the ranges that I told you about are the meds. The meds you usually need to purchase yourself. And also, you know, if you have any embryos left from your IVF cycle and you want them to get frozen and to be preserved frozen if you want to use them again, this is not included in your package as well. So basically, in my case and in my clinic, I am based in Bulgaria, and I had 1 round of IVF stimulation, egg retrieval procedure, fertilization, 5-day frozen embryo transfer, and my husband and I are currently preserving 4 embryos. All of that included, and my pregnancy blood test as well was about 5,000 euros from beginning to end. So I'll definitely recommend for you to consider informing yourself about finances, about financing options as well, because I know that some clinics are actually offering finance support for families who want to go through IVF, and that's something that you might want to go ahead and ask your clinic or your doctor about. And then consideration number 4 about the process is probably the hardest and the toughest one, and that is to be prepared for all scenarios, because unfortunately IVF is not a 100% guarantee that you fall pregnant and that, you know, you get pregnant right after that. IVF is not for everyone. It might not help with all types of fertility problems. So it might be the case that it's not working for you, or that you might need to go through more rounds than one. So yeah, I know that it's tough and it's not something that you're walking into the process thinking about, but just being prepared about this, knowing the stats, knowing the possibilities of IVF, what it can and cannot do, what types of problems it can or cannot help with, is something that I'll definitely recommend, so that you have realistic expectations. This is something that you would like to discuss with your doctor as well. You'd like to discuss all options and anything that may happen down the road. Now, after discussing the process itself and discussing the considerations around the process, it's probably a good idea to also discuss some considerations around lifestyle changes, because IVF would definitely require for you to experience some lifestyle changes that you maybe weren't prepared for. So let's discuss consideration number one, would be to become your healthiest version of yourself. And this might seem quite self-explanatory, but basically being the healthiest version of yourself will definitely help you with the process, will help your body to be prepared to also grow a happy and healthy baby and all of that which you're so much looking forward to. And it will also help you push through the effort and all of the things that you need to do, that your body needs to go through during your own IVF journey. So basically some small, even self-evident changes like adopting a healthy diet, if needed, getting into a healthier weight range, drinking plenty of water every day, even taking some supplements might be some of the things that you may want to consider when you're thinking about your health journey. I have a separate video on supplements alone, and I'll make sure to link it down in the description below so that you can check that out if you are interested. If you're overwhelmed by this process, or if you need additional support, you might look for the services of a specialist, like for example a nutritionist or a holistic medicine therapist, and they can really help you and they can really support you for adopting some healthier lifestyle choices. And you can also consider adding acupuncture to your routine, because acupuncture is amazing. It can really help stimulate the blood flow to your ovaries and uterus, which is something which you really want to do while you're doing IVF. And also it can boost mood and make you feel good in general, which is so important while you're doing your IVF. Then another lifestyle change that I'll definitely recommend is to consider therapy. I have been going through therapy even before I started my IVF journey, and I think that therapy is so important for you to be in a good place and to feel good, which is one of the most important things while you're doing IVF. Also, it's very important for you to have someone to talk to honestly about your feelings and about your fears related to IVF, and for someone to actually validate those feelings. This is just amazing, and it makes you feel way better. Some IVF clinics even already provide the services of a therapist on site, so that's something that you might also want to discuss with your clinic and with your fertility doctor. Sometimes it's even an option to have a session before or after some of the major procedures such as egg retrieval or embryo transfer. Then consideration number 3 would be to stay active. Stay active for as long as you can. Being active helps with the blood flow to the uterus. It helps support the overall circulation, which is very important during IVF process. And unless your doctor advises you otherwise, because there are some cases when, for example, a patient is really underweight, or there's some other medical conditions which require for the patient to slow down or to stop working out completely. Being active is one of the best ways to boost your mood, keep being positive, and keep living in the process. Sorry guys, I'm really out of breath, but you know, walking and being active in being 9 months pregnant is sometimes a challenge, and talking to you at the same time. I was also very much supported by my doctor to keep being active, just to decrease the volume and intensity of my trainings, because I was running like 10k every day before that, and she advised me to, you know, reduce to 5k every other day, and then to switch to running and walking, and not to be, you know, running that much. But that's individual and depends on your own situation, and probably your doctor will give you some more advice on that. And then finally, but probably most importantly, I would consider researching relaxing techniques in advance, because IVF can be stressful, and it can be very stressful. It can get more and more stressful by the day when you're considering whether or not you're doing everything right, whether or not it will work for you, whether or not you will need to get additional procedures or additional rounds. adding up to that the physical pain and physical discomfort and the financial burden of IVF is really very stressful. So researching and applying relaxation techniques is something that I would definitely recommend you to consider, because this is something that will help you a lot during the process. And also you might actually pick up something that you quite like, and you might actually pick up for future use as well. For example, you can try meditating, breathing techniques, swimming, yoga, journaling. There are so many techniques out there, and my recommendation will be to just go ahead and explore even before you get into the IVF process, to see what you feel best with and what kind of clicks best with you, so that you can actually take it and adopt it during the process and have a safe haven or a safe place that you can retrieve to. I wish I had done it earlier, because I was kind of learning on the go and using relaxation techniques on the go. So there you have it, the things that I really think everyone should know before they start their own IVF cycle. If you're someone who has gone through IVF or is going currently through IVF, and you have any additional recommendations or additional considerations, please leave them in the comment section below. I would be very much pleased to hear from you and to see what you're going through, what your experience is, and what your considerations are. Thank you so much for joining me today on today's video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.